comes in again. He is outside with this one. Sebra, 26-year-old right-hander, born in Ridgewood, New Jersey, lives now in Naperville, Illinois. His only start this season was against Houston. First 3 pitches from Sebra are balls to Chico Walker, batting at 148 on the year. Walker, 29-year-old native of Jackson, Mississippi. A strike to him, 3-1.
Chico Walker has actually done a great job for the Cubs in that when he normally gets on base, something happens. He's able to steal bases, but he sets the offense in motion. I think that's the key. That's what a leadoff hitter should do. Doesn't mean he always gets on base, but when he does, he sets something in motion.
Good view of Walker, who is a graduate of Tilden High School here in Chicago. He once hit a home run in Comiskey Park when he was 15 years old, playing in a Little League game there. Fouls this one away, and the count stays full. Ryan Sandberg, Rhino on deck. I wonder if that home run he hit down at Comiskey Park was all the way out of the ballpark. I doubt it, but a home run at age 15 in that park, pretty good. A walk to Walker, and we might see some running right off the bat. Chicago has been running more and very successfully. 28 stolen bases in a row going back to last year. 15 stolen bases without being thrown out this season.
I think Ryan Sandberg is a perfect second place hitter in that he can hit the ball to right field, which he can shoot the ball in the hole with the runner on at first. He can pull the ball. He can drive the ball out of the ballpark. He is a very fine baseball player.
This fella has a career .303 average with runners in scoring position. He's a very fine clutch hitter. He tailed off a bit after that spectacular 85 last year.
I think one of the reasons he tailed off was the fact they moved him down to third slot, and he's a better second place hitter than he is a third place hitter. A lot of people don't understand when you move down to the third slot, your thinking is different. You feel like you have to drive the ball more, go for more home runs, and drive in more runs. He did a great job of both when he was hitting second. Now he's back at second, the pressure's off.
Certainly Sandberg's acquisition here was one of the real coups for Dallas Green. 1-ball account as he looks down to his third base coach, John Vukovic. Walker there at first after the walk. Walker's running, and the throw is not in time into center field, and Walker comes on to third. It'll be a stolen base and an error on the catcher.
Actually, Chico Walker just fits right in with the Chicago club in that when Ryan Sandberg's hitting, he gets a pretty good jump there. Not a great jump, but he gets a good one. The throw is way off line.
Jeff Reed's throw way to the right, and the error charged to Reed. That's now 29 in a row in the stolen base department for the Cubs over the last 2 years. 2 balls and no strikes to Ryan Sandberg. That's high, 3-0, and Sebra struggling here in the early going to find the plate.
Well, the one thing you cannot do pitching against the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field is pitch from behind. If he stays behind these hitters consistently, they will add to their leading home run total that they've produced the last 2 years.
Got the inside corner with that one, 3 balls and 1 strike. Sebra's big out pitch is a very fine major league curve. It's a real hook. He doesn't have what you would call overpowering speed with the fastball.
There's an off-speed pitch.
On the ground will score Walker. That is the 4th RBI of the season for Sandberg. Oh, the Cubs break out on top. They won here 7-0 yesterday behind a fine performance by Sutcliffe.
The way that Sebra has to pitch is keep the hitters off balance with his good curveball and changing speeds. He threw Sandberg a 3-1 change up there and got him to ground at the shortstop, so he has to do that. If he gets behind and tries to throw the fastball, the Cubs will hurt him.
Andre Dawson in the Cubs uniform. Dawson has had a little trouble getting on track with his new team. He's only batting 192. He has 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in. The free swinger, he homered on Monday of this week.
His slow start is really expected, as far as I'm concerned, Jay, in that when you change teams, you change environments, you want to prove to your teammates and the fans that you can do the same things here that you did where you came from. And that puts a lot of pressure on you originally, and you start trying too hard. You're just pressing in the beginning. And I think that's what Andre was doing. I talked to him before the ball game. He feels comfortable here, but he says he just thinks he's been trying a little too hard.
Sebra got that good curveball over there that last time. 1 ball and 2 strikes as he had Dawson off balance. Struck him out. Oh, the first strikeout for Sebra. And Dawson heads back to the dugout. It'll be Keith Moreland who hits in the number 4 spot today. Cubs with a record of 4-5 and a team batting average of .267. Moreland, 32 years old, the Cubs run batted in leader last season. Hit .324 last April. He takes the strike. Moreland at .219 as he stands in today with 4 runs batted in. And Gene Michael has confidence that this fella can play third base for him. He's worked very hard, Moreland has.
Well, I think that's the key to Keith Moreland's success, even as a hitter, and he worked very hard to become a good hitter. He was not that good a hitter the first part of his career. Now the last 2 out of the last 4 years, he's hit over 300 for the Cubs. But he had to work very hard at that. He was not what you call a natural hitter to begin with.
Right to Wallach at third base. But the Cubs come up with a run as Chico Walker did some running. Back with more in a moment. On this day in Chicago, Montreal without this fella, Tim Raines. He can hurt you with the long ball. He can run. What a splendid athlete. And of course, he can go and get the ball in the outfield as he's doing right there in that shot from here in Wrigley Field. And Buck Rogers is looking forward to May 1st. Is he going to get him back?
It was kind of interesting, Jay. He mentioned the guys he was going to get back, as I did at the beginning of the show, Tim Burke and also Bryn Smith. He did not mention Tim Raines. I believe that Tim Raines will be back with Montreal after May 1st. But it was interesting to me that Buck Rogers did not mention him and the guys that he expects back the first week of May.
Here's Tim Wallach batting .333, and it's in the hole and left. Leadoff single for Wallach, who has 7 runs batted in. Wallach, now 29 years old, a consistent power hitter and run producer. Well, I read something the other day where Mrs. Raines apparently is now the spokesperson for the whole situation, as he says it's time to play baseball.
Well, I think everyone will agree that it is time to play baseball, but I think we have to wait till May 1st, but I do believe that Tim Raines will be back with the Montreal Expos this year.
Jeff Reed takes a strike. Good fastball right down the middle. Well, if they get Raines back, you can see that it will be a meaningful situation for them.
Those statistics really show the value of a Tim Raines. In every category, he adds something, as you mentioned, defensively, and also especially on the bases.
Looked like Reed might want to lay one down there. Took a pitch high and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Reed, 23 years old, from nearby Joliet, Illinois. Was originally drafted by the Twins.
He came over in the Jeff Reardon trade.
Swing and a miss. Well, you know, we talked about this Montreal club being a much better club in the early 80s. I think of that 81 team, and only Wallach is here from that 81 team right now.
And that's interesting because most of the guys that were on that team are still playing, but they're just playing in other ballparks.
This one is fouled away as the runner was going, and Wallach will have to come back.
Some of the guys were on that team. Warren Cromartie is now playing in Japan. Steve Rogers was the ace of the staff. He's no longer with the ball club. Ellis Valentine. They've had some great players there, and they're playing elsewhere, or some of them are not playing at all.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Jeff Reed. Reed, a very fine defensive catcher. They've been running on him a lot, but really they've been running on the pitchers more than they have on the catcher, and I think that's the case most of the time in this game today. 2-2.
Well, I think people don't realize that you do run on the pitcher. Very few times do you actually try to steal a base knowing that the catcher will have a shot at you. If you don't get a good jump, you do not go. 90% of the catchers in the major leagues will be able to throw you out if you do not get a good jump.
This Chicago club, of course, signing Dawson, trading for Sundberg. Say went to Oakland for Quinones. They did not re-sign Chris Spire or Terry Francona. That's just outside of the full count. Well, there have been changes made on both of these clubs. Chicago's big problem, weak pitching. And can Durham's power outage of last year be returned to some good status? Gene Michael, of course, longtime field boss of the Yankees and a former general manager of the Yankees. Pretty good infielder in his day, too. Wallach down there at first. And the 3-2 pitch coming. Popped up. Moreland ranging over, and it's back into the seats. Joe, let's talk about the sun field right now. Moreland had his glasses down. You played here. What's the situation on a day like today? The sky's very sunny. It's sunny, but it's gray here, really.
Well, that helps. You do not like a blue sky, which is, as a player's term, a high sky, because you do not have anything to focus against. But with the sky being gray, it really shouldn't give them that much trouble.
Maddox ready. Another 3-2 offering is high, and 2 on and none out. First walk given up by Maddox. Vance Law will be coming to the plate. Law batting at .233. Gene Michael up and pacing his dugout now. Chicago 70 and 90 in '86. Finished 5th, 37 games out.
I think Gene is still adjusting to the National League as far as the players are concerned, knowing which players can hit and run on the opposite team, knowing all the little things that go with understanding a player's ability. But one of the things he has to adjust to also is the double switch, because he doesn't have the DH over here.
That's fouled upstairs off to the right side by Vance Law. Vance, of course, came from the White Sox. He was originally a Pirate draft choice back in '78. Versatile player. Play all the infield positions. Son of former Cy Young Award winner Vern Law. Just inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Tim Wallach at second. Jeff Reed at first. 7-0 victory for the Cubs yesterday. 4-hitter for Sutcliffe. Dawson 4 for 4. That was their first home victory of the year. Little blooper out into center, and it is going to fall. No, it did fall finally. What a fine try by Dunston. The bases are loaded. Dunston almost came up with that ball. I didn't think he had a shot at it, Joe, but he did get his glove on it.
When the ball was first hit, it looked like just a Texas Ligger that was going to drop in. But Dunston, having a lot of speed, and he got a good jump on the ball, he actually gets there. But the toughest play in the world is looking back over your shoulder trying to judge the ball. And that's exactly what happens here. He hits off the end of his glove. But it's a great effort on the part of Sean Dunston. Seems to be maybe jarred his neck a little bit in his dive.
Well, the table is set for the Montreal Expos to have a big inning. The bases loaded for the rookie Alonzo Powell. Powell, just 22 years of age. Giants originally signed him as a free agent. Very tough play. Only play is at first, and they got him as the run comes across as Wallach scores, and we're tied at 1. That ball between the pitcher and the first baseman.
It's an excellent play by Durham, especially after he falls down. Stays under control, makes a good throw to Maddox. Very close play at first. That's one of the other things I've noticed about Wrigley Field here, Jay. And in the past, that infield grass has always been so tall. I used to hate to play here for that reason as a hitter, but now they seem to have cut it shorter, and the ball seems to skip through there a lot better.
Tom Foley is batting 154, a run home, 2 on and 1 out, and he takes high. Foley from Columbus, Georgia.
With the pitcher on deck and him being a left-handed hitter, I don't think the Cubs are going to give him an awful lot to swing at here.
He's a .321 lifetime hitter against Chicago.
Well, that's another reason, but they gave him a pitch.
And down the line in left, and this will score 2, and Montreal leads it 3-1. Foley getting his 3rd and 4th RBIs of the year as he plates Reed and Law.
That's a situation that I don't care. As an observer, I don't like. A lot of managers will do this, try to pitch and get the hitter out in this situation. But I believe with a left-handed hitter up there, a right-handed pitcher, and a pitcher on deck, I do not give this guy a chance to drive in 2 runs, which they did.
Well, you were offered a job to manage. I read about that recently. Mr. McMullen down in Houston did offer you that job.
Jay, that's hearsay.
Oh, is it hearsay? Oh, I thought I read it somewhere. Now, no, Joe, come on.
But you know I wouldn't lie to you, Jay. Yes, I was offered a job in Houston, and I almost took it, but at the last minute I changed my mind, and I wanted to be in the booth with you some more.
Oh, well, we'll talk a little more about that later on. Sibra trying to get something done as Montreal has taken the lead 3-1 here, coming up with 3 runs in the top of the 2nd inning. Well, Hal Lanier, of course, has done a wonderful job down there at Houston.
Yes, he has.
And you have a great many interests. Sibra swinging away, slaps it into right, and Foley goes on to 3rd.
That was a perfectly executed hit-and-run play. So I guess Gene Michael knew something I didn't know. And that's why he is the manager.
And now, Herb Starrett, pitching coach, as we look again here, coming out to talk to Maddox.
That was a hit-and-run play, and he got the ball up and out over the plate. And Sibra hit it in the right field. Now the runners at 1st and 3rd.
Well, while they talk it over out on the mound, let's check in with Jimmy Cefalo in New York.
Thanks, Jay. At Toronto, 2 outs, 1 man on. Jim Rice at the plate for the Red Sox. A routine fly ball to center field. Mosby calls for it, but there's some confusion between Mosby and right fielder Jesse Barfield. Mosby will get the error. Ed Ramiro scores. Rice winds up on 3rd, and the Red Sox lead it 1-0. Bottom of the 2nd. Let's go back to Jay Randolph in Chicago.
Jimmy Cefalo updating the action for us throughout the afternoon. Herb Starrett talked things over with his hurler. Here's Casey Candell, and the double play. Can they turn it? Safe at first. A problem for Dunston as he had trouble getting that ball out of his glove, and another run comes across. It's 4-1.
Yeah, but actually, Jay, the real problem was Leon Durham came off the bag too soon at first. Dunston, with that shotgun of an arm, still has time after he juggles the ball or can't get it out of his glove. But watch, you'll see at first base, after he really fires this ball to first, you'll see Leon Durham come off the bag. Watch his left foot. There, right there. He comes off the bag. The throw still had him beat.
And Mitch Webster is the 8th man to bat. He was out when the bunt attempt hit his bat. We thought out of the field of play, but Doug Harvey, the crew chief, called him out, you'll remember, back in the 1st inning. Four runs for Montreal here in the top of the 2nd. Webster's a great Big 8 basketball fan. He's from Leonard, Kansas. That's fouled away.
I tell you what, Montreal has no respect for Jody Davis's throwing arm or Greg Maddox's ability to hold the runners at first. They're running at every opportunity here.
Montreal came into today's game with only 3 stolen bases in 4 attempts.
And they've tried at least 3 stolen bases in this inning.
Time called by the plate umpire, Jerry Davis. Late arriving crowd, Wrigley Field in Chicago, here on the near north side. It's Ron Hansen coaching at first base as we give you a look at some of the faithful here. Good play by Maddox. Feels his position nicely and throws out Webster. But the damage is done as the Expos come up with 4 in the second inning. Joe, it's important for a pitcher to field his position, and Maddox showed good quickness here as he got to this ball and made the play.
Well, a good fielding pitcher can really help the inner defense, the guys up the middle. And you have to understand, once he throws the ball, he becomes a fielder. And a lot of pitchers do not field their positions well. They fall off to one side or the other, but Maddox does a good job.
Leon Durham leading it off, second inning, fouling it away round the right side. Durham batting .250. Boston leading Toronto 1-0 in the second inning. Saw that Kansas City Yankees score, and we get word from up at Milwaukee that the game is being delayed there until approximately 3 Eastern time to accommodate a late arriving crowd. I bet they're turned on in Milwaukee these days, the way that bunch has been playing. 2 balls and 1 strike to Durham. Here's a long one into left, way back, and gone. Leon Durham, second home run of the season, RBI number 4. 4-2 Montreal.
In Wrigley Field, a 4-1 lead is never safe, especially with the Cubs. But Leon Durham, to me, is a key to the Chicago Cub ball club this year, in that he's going to hit after Keith Moreland and behind Andre Dawson. I think he'll get a lot of opportunities to drive in runs, and I think he's going to be the key. If he has a great year, I think the Cubs can really bounce back.
That's the first home run that Sebra has given up. This is inside to Jody Davis. Jody batting .381. There's the bull. Former St. Louis Cardinal. We're predicting superstardom for this fella a couple of years ago, and he's never quite reached it. 1 ball and 1 strike to Jody Davis.
He suffered a couple of injuries the last couple of years, and I think that's why I say he's the key to their ball club. A healthy Leon Durham can really anchor the middle of that lineup.
Jody Davis was injured in the home opener here against the Cardinals, but boy, he's a durable fella. He got back in the lineup just as quickly as he could.
I think one of the reasons there was that Jim Sundberg was doing so well also.
Sundberg was. That was a valuable trade that they made.
It's funny when you're injured and you sit on the bench and the guy that's taking your spot, Jay, starts to do very well. Suddenly you don't hurt quite as much. I've been in that position myself.
Davis caught 145 games last season. That was the most of any catcher in the major leagues. That's in there, and it's 3-2. The Cubs won 8 and lost 10 against Montreal last season. Inside, a walk to Davis. That's the second pass given up by Sebra.
Leon Durham, as you see in the dugout cleaning his glasses, this is his home run swing earlier this inning. He actually reaches for this ball, and he's not really on balance. That's why he hits it to left field. He reaches out a little bit, but being so strong, he just drives the ball in the gap. And that's what Wrigley Field will do for you if you hit the ball the other way.
And the wind today blowing a little bit from right to left.
And it helped it a little bit, but it almost went out of the ballpark.
Dave Martinez takes a ball. Martinez from Manhattan, New York, just 22 years old, grew up down in Florida, went to Valencia Community College in Orlando.
Defensively, Martinez is one of the keys for the Cubs because he's the guy that's going to really make their defense solid in the outfield. Now that they no longer have Keith Moreland in right field, and they're not playing Gary Matthews in left. When you have Chico Walker, Dave Martinez out there, it closes the gaps. It keeps the guys from hitting the ball in the gaps. It really ensures your defense, and it also makes your pitching a lot better.
1 ball and 1 strike. That caught the outside corner. Martinez watching it go by. Bob Sebra, 0-1 on the year, comes in low. Sebra had 2 very fine games last September. He beat the Mets. Now ready with the 2-2 offering. Popped up into short center field. Candell is on the run, gets there. Tough Sunfield out there right now, apparently. The young rookie had the glasses down and battled hard to hang in there with that one. Dunston batting 167, and he has struck out 9 times already this year.
When you're not a power hitter, you should put the ball in play. I think a lot of his strikeouts started to occur last year after he hit a few home runs at the beginning of the season, and unconsciously you start going for them, especially in a ballpark like Wrigley Field.
Good stop there by Reed. Dunston's 24 years old now. He was the nation's #1 pick in '82. The Cubs tried to bring him along slowly, and I think it did begin to pay off for them a bit last season. He's got a strong arm. Batted .250 last year. They call him Thunder Pup. Inside, 2 balls and no strikes.
Sebra keeps just missing, as they say, with his curveball. He keeps hanging it inside, but that's not where you want to throw it anyway. You want to try to get the curveball on the outside part of the plate. And if he hangs a couple inside and they get it up in that wind, he's going to find himself not ahead 4-2, but behind.
Little nubber off to the right side. Sebra came to Montreal in a rather unusual way when Pete Incaviglia refused to sign with the Expos out of college. Sebra was one of the 2 players sent by Texas to Montreal. Sebra, a college standout at the University of Nebraska. He was 0-2 with Texas in '85, 5-5 in 17 games last season. He came along with infielder Jim Anderson in that deal. 2-1 to Sean Dunston. A run home, 1 out, and Davis at first base. And a wonderful stop by Wallach, and out at first, and they turn the double play. So it is 4-2, Montreal over the Cubs, and we'll be right back after this from your local station. As we look at Tim Wallach, the on-deck hitter, I'm reminded to let you know that we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of this one.
That's a great play by Tim Wallach at third, who won a Gold Glove 2 years ago, and he throws over to Vance Law, and Vance throws the ball low to get the runner down very quickly at second base. That's a very fine double play started by Tim Wallach.
Wallace Johnson grounded out to end the first, leading it off in the third. 4-2, Montreal leads it. Injuries certainly hurt this Montreal club over the last 2 seasons. They last won the National League East in '81, the strike season, the split season. Whitey Herzog would argue with you about them winning anything that year, because Herzog thought the Cardinals should have been in the playoffs until they changed the rules.
That's the good thing about baseball. Creates a lot of controversy.
Ryne Sandberg throws out Johnson. Check a couple American League scores for you at action up in Toronto. And now they have the lead over Boston 2-1 in the second inning. Kansas City and New York knotted up at 1 in the second inning. And again, a reminder, up at Milwaukee, they've delayed things to get all the people in the park up there today. Wallach singled and scored in the second. Strike. Wallach is one of 3 National League players to have 18+ home runs and 70+ runs batted in each of the last 5 years. The others, Schmidt and Murphy, and that's inside.
Well, we know Mike Schmidt, who has 499 home runs now, going for his 500th home run tonight in Pittsburgh.
Just missed inside. 3 balls and 1 strike. Yeah, he'll be the 14th player in Major League Baseball history to hit 500.
And the way he's going, he may hit over 600 as we see Jeff Reed in the on-deck circle.
Fouled away. More baseball coming up this afternoon. Our first doubleheader of the year, of course. Mr. Lasorda's Dodgers take on Larry Boa's San Diego Padres. The White Sox battle the Tigers. You want to check your local listings for the game to be seen in your area.
Wallach has a pretty long swing, Jay, as you see right there.
Moreland coming over in foul territory, making the play. 2 gone.
A lot of sluggers do have long swings. And as we see here, meaning a long swing is not short and quick. As you'll see, it's a long loop kind of swing. And what happens, he has strength anywhere in that swing, and he usually drives the ball. You know, he can drive the ball out of the ballpark. Here he pops it up. Keith Moreland makes the play.
Jeff Reed was walked in the second inning. He later scored, and he fouls it straight back. Talking about long swings and short swings, I always thought Bob Horner had one of the most compact swings that I'd seen in recent years, and now he's going to show it off in Japan.
Right, he does have a very short, quick swing, and that's why he was successful in Atlanta County Fulton Stadium. We'll see how he does over in Japan.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, those ballparks ought to be to his liking over there in Japan. They're just like the cars, very compact. Sandberg in time. Maddox gets them 1, 2, 3. It's 4-2 Montreal. Well, there's a very talented lady, Ellen Callahan. They called her the feminine Ted Williams, and what a splendid ball player. And her son, Casey Candell, in center field today. She's from Vancouver, British Columbia, and the stories they tell about her ability to play ball are just fantastic.
Well, she was a slugger too, and she was in the All-American Women's Baseball League in the 1940s, and she led the league in hitting.
She used a bigger bat, I'm told, than Casey does, because he's not very big.
No, Casey used a 31-ounce bat. She used a 36-ounce bat.
Maddox leading it off as we move into the bottom of the third inning, and he takes the cut, pops it off the right side. Vance Law has the, and there's 1 gone.
That's one of the things that drives managers crazy, is a pitcher walking up, leading off the inning, swinging at the first pitch. Now it makes your leadoff hitter have to take a pitch or 2, because you do not want to have 2 pitches and 2 outs in the inning. So actually a pitcher, when he's leading off the inning, should really go up and take a pitch.
This fellow walked and scored a run earlier, Chico Walker, and he has really hit well against Montreal. In '86, he batted .471 as he was 8 for 17 against the Expos. Just outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Walker stole 15 bases after being recalled from Iowa last September, and we saw him steal a base here in the opening inning. This is popped up out of play.
This is what you want from your leadoff hitter, is to make the pitcher go into the count. He took the first 2 pitches for balls, and now he's fouled 1 away. So the pitcher's made at least 3 pitches to him, or 4 pitches he will make before he can get anyone out. What that does is 2 things. It lets him gives his teammates a chance to be able to see all the pitches that a pitcher has and see if the guy's lost anything here in the 3rd inning.
Well, he walks him again. That may cause him a problem. Walker, with that stolen base in the 1st inning, now leads the club with 4. And he's at first with 1 gone for Ryne Sandberg. Sandberg got the RBI. And he grounded out 6-3 in the 1st inning. Chicago, as has been mentioned earlier by Joe Morgan, leading the National League in home runs the last 2 seasons. It didn't help them very much in the standings. First pitch, a strike to Ryne Sandberg. He showed you that home run by Garvey in the League Championship Series. I guess it never really recovered from that, but you just have to get going. And as we mentioned, both of these clubs are teams of change these days.
Psychologically, when you lose a playoff game like that against San Diego, which the Cubs did, it puts a dent in your future for a little while, really, because it's a psychological downer for quite a while.
That one's low, 1 ball and 1 strike. The Cubs have hit 40% more of their home runs here at Wrigley Field than on the road in the last 5 seasons. And as Joe mentioned, a 4-2 lead is very precarious in this ballpark. An 8-run lead sometimes can be precarious here. Inside, 2 balls and 1 strike.
Sandberg, Dawson, Moreland, and Durham, all following, all capable of hitting over 20 home runs a season.
They've got good middle infield firepower here and some fine individual performers. Runner goes, swing and a miss, and he is safe. Stolen base number 5 on the season for Walker, his 2nd today.
As I said at the beginning, when he gets on base, something happens. He doesn't get a great jump. He still just gets a good jump. But he runs so fast that he beats the throw to second base. But he usually makes things happen whenever he gets on base.
17 stolen bases in 17 attempts through this season. Runner at 2nd, hold on, and they're 2 gone as Sandberg is out 6-3.
That was a good pitch by Sebra. He got the curveball breaking down and away. All Sandberg could do with it was hit a ground ball at shortstop.
Well, the fans here come alive.
We'll see this pitch breaking down and away from Ryne Sandberg. Now it starts to bottom block out of it, and he reaches out and tries to pull it.
Dawson struck out in the 1st. He'd like to burn his old mates right here. He could tie it up with 1 swing. That's low.
The best compliment people give Andre Dawson is, naturally the outfielders are called hawks, meaning they chase the ball down. Andre Dawson is called the Hawk, meaning right. He's the best.
That's the ultimate compliment, isn't it?
Yes, it is, from the other players.
High chopper, 1 ball and 1 strike. With the stolen base by Walker, with 17, of course, on this year without being thrown out. That's now 30 in a row for Chicago over the past 2 seasons. They've been having some success on the base paths.
When you steal 30 straight bases, you're doing an excellent job. It means you're getting a good jump on the pitcher, you're reading the pitcher, and you're going at the right time.
1-1 pitch is inside, 2 balls and 1 strike.
If he keeps trying to throw Andre Dawson that curveball and he keeps getting it inside, he's going to be in trouble. The way to pitch Dawson is try to get the fastball inside under his hands.
This will play for the shortstop. Foley throws out Dawson. And we've completed 3 innings of play with Montreal on top 4-2. Rick Sutcliffe catching up on his reading. That's a Montreal Expos brochure. I don't know whether he's reading the French or the English. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
He's probably trying to read up on and see who were these guys I shut out yesterday.
4-hitter. And he stole a base yesterday. Vance Law singled in the second and later scored. The first pitch of ball from Greg Maddux as we move into the 4th inning. The Cubs have 1 hit. The visitors from Montreal have 4, and it's a 4-2 game. High chop. Infield single. Dunston had no way to make a play as it was deep in the hole.
That's what happens when you do bunt often, as Vance Law does. You bring the third baseman in, and you can chop the ball over his head. If the third baseman's back, he has a play on that ball.
Alonzo Powell grounded out in the second.
Buck Rogers has a little fear here that he's force-feeding Alonzo Powell maybe a little too quickly. They think he's really not ready for the big leagues. They know he has a lot of talent, and they think he's going to be a great player. But with the absence of Tim Raines and Andre Dawson, they're giving him a shot, and maybe he'll surprise him and come through. Interesting note, Alonzo Powell was traded to Montreal from the Giants. You know who for? George Heater Riley. Oh. Heater, that's a great name for a pitcher.
Yeah.
He's a left-handed pitcher.
Pitched out there. Well, he is a San Francisco native, is Powell. Fine athlete. Hit .329 at West Palm Beach in '86. Played winter ball down in Venezuela. 2 balls and no strikes to Powell, and that's right down central, 2-1.
He looks very strong in the batter's box, has a good stance. I think he's going to be a good hitter. He just has to get a little more experience and be able to adjust to the pitchers. A few days ago, they started throwing him a lot of breaking balls, and he did not adjust very well. So I think that's something he'll have to learn. You have to be able to adjust to the pitchers here in the major leagues, each and every time you go to the plate.
That's low, 3-1. These Montreal Expos have not been home yet. They play here tomorrow and then head home to play in their domed stadium. The roof is finally on at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Quebec. Runner goes, got a big jump, and he is there. The ball goes into center field, and Law comes on to third. There was no way they were going to throw him out. He got a tremendous jump off Maddux.
And I think that's the problem now. As you mentioned, Montreal had not attempted but 3 stolen bases before, and now they're running at every opportunity, and it has to be that they're figuring Greg Maddux out. As I noted before, he has a big slow motion to the plate, so it's very easy to get a good jump on him. And as you'll see, Vance just takes off, and as you mentioned, Jody Davis has no chance.
And 3-2 the count to Powell. And they walk him. And down in the Cub bullpen, Dickie Knowles, a much-traveled gentleman. The runners at the corners for Foley, who singled and got a couple of RBIs back in the second.
And you see Sean Dunston visiting Greg Maddux at the mound. He's trying to give Dickie Knowles a little more time to warm up in case Dallas Green made a mistake, in case Gene Michael wants to remove him.
Dallas Green is the general manager here, of course. They come home. The throw was a little wide. They've got the runner hung up long. The throw to third not in time, but they get the lead man.
Yes, but Montreal also makes good base running plays here, and that now they have runners at second and third with 1 out. They started with runners at first and third, and you'll see here Durham leaps for the ball. Now he has to wait for it. Has no chance for the double play, so he comes home to keep Vance Law from scoring. But Vance Law, as I mentioned, makes a heads-up play. He gives both Alonzo Powell and Tom Foley time to move up a base. Now, instead of runners at first and third with 1 out, now they have runners at second and third with 1 out.
And the pitcher, Sebra, will be at the plate, and he hit a little loop single into right back in the second inning. There's the line score at this point in the proceedings: 4-5 and 1 for the Expos, 2-1-1 for the Cubs.
The last time up, Greg Maddox threw Sebra a high fastball on a hit-and-run play, and he singled to right field. His job now will be to keep the ball down or try to strike him out, of course. But if he's going to let him hit the ball or allow him to hit the ball, it has to be hit on the ground. So he'll have to keep all his pitches down in order to do that.
Montreal dropped their first 5 games of the season. They've won 2 of their last 3. They lost the shutout here yesterday, but they took 2 from the Cardinals in St. Louis earlier this week. Jackie Moore, the third base coach, flashing the signs.
The infield is playing in, of course, trying to keep this runner from scoring on a ground ball to the infield.
He had a pretty good cut.
Like I say, maybe Gene Michael knew something I didn't know. He's swinging the bat very well.
2 strikes the count, and Maddox certainly could use the strikeout here. 51 pitches today, as you see.
And that's part of his problem. He's not throwing enough strikes. He's not getting ahead of enough hitters, although he is ahead of Bob Sebra here.
Sebra now steps out. Beautiful day here on Chicago's near north side. And look around now. This place is almost filled up. They came late. Struck him out.
Greg Maddox does what he wants. He strikes out Bob Sebra. Good fastball over the outside corner. And he's almost out of the jam. 2 outs.
Casey Candell is struck out and grounded out. 0 for 2. Has a run batted in. Takes outside for a ball.
You mentioned the fans came a little late, Jay. Actually, we started early.
Well, that's true.
Hey, they're so programmed here for the games to start at 1:15, and we shocked them.
A doubleheader day, of course, on NBC. Hope you'll stay with us throughout the afternoon. Jimmy Cefalo will be updating game scores from New York. Many of you will see the White Sox in Detroit. Others will see the Dodgers and the Padres later. Moving over to make the play, Dunston in time, and the Cubs dodge a bullet. After 3.5, 4-2, Montreal. Young lady enjoying the day at Wrigley Field, as are we. Jay Randolph along with Joe Morgan, and of course today we are working in Harry Carey's booth, and there's
I've got Harry Carey's net here.
That's
I was
right.
waiting to try to make a catch, but they haven't fouled any balls our way so far.
Well, Harry, if you're listening, all the best to you, and we're happy to hear that you hope to be back in the booth on May the 19th.
You know what Harry Carey does in the 7th inning? You're
Yes,
the play-by-play announcer. Are you going to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game"?
I think I'll leave that up to Harry.
Oh, I think you can do it.
You think I can do it?
Let's go for it.
Well, I think I'll pass if you don't mind. Mr. Carey, truly one of the great people in the broadcasting booth, Major League Baseball
here in Chicago.
Oh yes. Keith Moreland leading it off as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Moreland 0 for 1 this afternoon. His RBI totals the last 3 seasons. It's a strike on the inside corner.
And those are very impressive totals. Very consistent. In the high 80s and driving in 100 runs a couple of years ago.
Moreland, drafted by the Phillies, came to the Cubs with Dickie Knowles and Dan Larson in the deal for Mike Krukow prior to the '82 season. He was an All-American down at the University of Texas. 2 balls and 1 strike to Moreland, the new third baseman here.
Right.
That's high, 3-1.
I think that's one of the things the Cubs wanted to do. Of course, they wanted to keep his bat in the lineup, but they also wanted to improve their outfield defense, and by moving him to third, they've done both.
And he went for a pitch out of the strike zone, 3-2. Mike Schmidt popped out to first in his first at bat this afternoon at Pittsburgh. We'll keep you updated on his at bats as he goes for number 500 in the home run department.
I played with Mike Smith. He was one of my teammates in 1983. And I tell you, he has more power, just awesome power to every part of the ballpark, more than anyone that I've ever seen in a baseball uniform.
And a fine gentleman, a man who does a lot for charity that you never even hear about.
Well, he's just a very caring individual, and I think that's the key.
Toronto up 3-1 over Boston, 4th inning. Kansas City and New York still 1-1 in the 3rd. The payoff pitch, and right to Foley. Ball hit right on the nose, but at the shortstop, 1 gone.
Actually, I think Keith Moreland is a better 2-strike hitter than he is early in the count. With 2 strikes, he makes sure he puts the ball in play, sees the ball good, and he doesn't try to drive it out of the ballpark. He's an excellent hitter. As I mentioned, he's hit over 300 2 of the last 4 years.
We hone in on Leon Durham, who homered in the 2nd inning, and he takes high for a ball. Durham, 29 years old. He was involved, of course, in one of the famous deals here that sent him to Chicago and took Bruce Sutter to St. Louis.
That was a trade that helped both ball clubs.
Ball 3. You mentioned that injuries have perhaps deprived Durham of that superstar status that a lot of people thought he might have. He's still got some good years left, I think, and he's in excellent shape this year, they tell me.
He definitely has some years left, and his numbers are really not poor numbers. They're just not superstar numbers that they thought he was going to put up when they brought him here to Chicago.
3-1 pitch coming, and it's 3-2 as he had a rip to put one out of here. It is 353 down the line and right, 355 to left. 368 to the power alleys and 400 to center field. The friendly confines of Wrigley Field, Chicago. High chopper, Law coming on, and they're 2 gone. You know, Joe, I'm reminded that this is the oldest field in the National League. What I wasn't reminded of the other day was that you work these days in the 2nd oldest National League park, Candlestick.
Yeah, I know. That's
hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, same here. I was surprised about that.
1960.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Jody Davis walked in the 2nd inning. And this one down the line in left, in fair territory. Goes out there to the dormant Ivy. It's a double.
That's 5 straight hits for Jody Davis, dating back to his 4 for 4 yesterday. It gets a high fastball up in the strike zone, and he drives it down the left field line, and automatic double.
And it's his 2nd double of the young season. And it'll give Dave Martinez a shot to see if the Cubs can get closer. Martinez flied to short center in the 2nd inning. He takes low for a ball. The wind, as it often does here in the afternoon, picking up just a little bit, blowing toward left field. That's low for ball 2. Martinez came up from Iowa last June, was optioned back there early in August, and then recalled again in September. Down the left side and curving foul back into the seats.
In order for Gene Michael's master plan to take effect, meaning improved defense for the Cubs to help their pitching staff, Martinez is going to have to produce a little bit. He's going to have to hit. You can't carry him completely just for his glove. You want a guy that's going to be able to hit a little bit, and I think that's what they're looking forward to from him.
Another one in about the same spot. 2-2. Davis after the double out there at second with 2 gone.
Watching Martinez swing, he does have a pretty good swing. He's a little late on the fastball, but he does have a pretty sound swing.
This one into short left center. Foley makes the play. They strand one, and after 4 innings, Montreal has the lead 4-2. Back after this from your local station. There's Billy Williams, some fine gentleman and a ball player of great talent. His wife threw out the first ball here on opening day. They wanted Billy to do it. He said, no, well, I want my wife to do it. She put up with me all these years.
And he's a Hall of Famer now. Reading in the paper today, he wants to be a major league manager. I thought that was interesting.
And he says he doesn't need to go to the minors and manage, that he's ready. He thinks his experience is good enough to get him an opportunity. Swing and a miss as Mitch Webster stands in. Webster is 0 for 2 this afternoon.
My last year of playing in '84 with Oakland, Billy Williams was a coach, and we used to be on the airplanes all the time, and he told me how happy he was to have me there because I was an old-timer like himself, and all we did was talk about old times and playing on the plane rides. He said he couldn't get anyone to talk baseball before that.
Joe, he feels really that he's ready to manage if he gets the opportunity. And you were offered the job. You corroborated that at Houston without the minor league experience. This is a shot into center field, and it is caught by Martinez out there. That ball seemed to hang up a little bit. Looked like it might go a little farther than it did. You agree with Williams that your major league experience, for the most part, gives you the opportunity to step in?
Yes, I agree with him, especially in Billy's case, because he played about 20 years in the major leagues, and he's also coached, for about 5 years in the major leagues. So I think he's right. I don't think you can learn anything riding buses in the minor leagues that you don't learn up here in the major leagues. And I think, like I say, he was a batting coach for Oakland when I was there, and he is a very knowledgeable baseball person, and I think he will manage one of these days.
Wallace Johnson 0 for 2 is grounded out twice. Reverend Jesse Jackson was here yesterday, and he met with Dallas Green and the Cub people to talk about the employment of blacks and Hispanics and women in baseball here. This ball deflected, and the play is made. If you're scoring with us, it'll go 1-6-3 as Maddox got a glove on it. Then it ricocheted over to Dunston, who had to change direction very quickly and made a nice play.
Johnson grounds this ball sharply back through the middle, and you see Maddox, and we've mentioned him to being a good fielder, gets a glove on it, and then the rifle arm of Sean Dunston does the rest. I thought it was interesting comments from Dallas Green about after his meeting with Jesse Jackson yesterday, in that he said we have not gone out of our way or actually sought out blacks, Hispanics, or women to hire, and he says he thinks that they may have made some mistakes along those lines. It wasn't out of spite or anything, it's just that he was not sensitive to the situation, he said, and I thought it was real good comments from Dallas Green.
Here's Wallach, singled and scored in the second and fouled out in the third. 2 balls, the count to Wallach. Well, certainly the Al Campanis thing has brought to the forefront things that I guess most of us know but didn't talk much about.
I think that's the key. Most of us know, but we didn't talk much about. Now we're talking about it.
That's right. And it's probably good.
Well, I think it is. Yeah. In fact, I know it's good. I think It has made a lot more people aware of some of the problems that have occurred in the past, and I think we'll get them solved. I think that's one thing about this country. When there are problems, we are able to solve them, and I'm looking forward to the day when we won't even have to think about it or talk about those things anymore.
3 balls and 1 strike to Wallach. Fouled away. And Joe, you indicated in our production meeting last night with our producer and director, as we chatted about this overall situation, that you feel the commissioner is very attuned to this situation. You've talked with him about it.
Yes, he is, and I think he's going to probably get some unfair criticism.
Wallach. Moreland can't make the play. Dunston either, and we'll wait to see how they rule it.
I think it should be a base hit.
I think so too.
Yes, it's a hit.
It's a hit.
Continuing, as we'll see here, Moreland tries to make the play. He gets a pretty good jump on the ball. In fact, he gets an excellent jump, and he just can't quite reach it. But continuing the thought about the commissioner, it's going to look like he's reacting to what has just happened when something does finally happen. But I tell you, I've known from the beginning of the year that he has been trying to do some things behind the scenes and trying to get more blacks, Hispanics, and women involved in the front offices of Major League Baseball.
Runner goes, and he is out. Davis gunned him down. Wallach is out stealing. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll see here a delayed steal attempt. And what happens on a delayed steal, the difference between a delay and a regular steal is you count 1 second, 2 seconds, and then you break. And what you're trying to do is trick the catcher and the infielders. But as you see here, they did not trick Jody Davis. He was aware of the runner at first base at all times and made a strong and accurate throw.
Dunston 0 for 1 today as we are into the bottom of the 5th inning. Dunston hitting into a 5-4-3 double play to end the 2nd inning. Takes high. A couple of other scores. Solo home run by Eric Davis, his 4th of the year. He's off to a splendid start. What a fine-looking ball player he is. Philadelphia 1-0 over Pittsburgh in the 2nd inning. Here it is 4-2 Montreal. Outside to Dunston, 2 balls and no strikes.
When you mention Eric Davis, he reminds me a lot of Bobby Bonds in that he can really run, steal bases very well, and he has a lot of power.
A late swing, 2 balls and 1 strike. Montreal 5-4 here at Wrigley Field last year, and 5-4 at Olympic Stadium in Montreal for that 10-8 record. Went for a high pitch, 2-2.
Under normal circumstances, Jay, I would think that Montreal does not have enough runs, but the fact that the Cubs have not been playing well at home, they may have a shot. But normally I would say 4-2 is not a comfortable lead here in Wrigley Field.
I would second that motion. Count stays at 2-2. Hubie Brooks, of course, not in the Montreal lineup. Hairline fractured the right wrist just about a week ago. Yesterday was, I think, hit by Danny Darwin in the 8th inning game at Houston. Into center field, Candell is right there. He broke in and had to hang on, but he made the play. And the pitcher, Maddox, who popped out in the 3rd, will come to the dish.
One of the strong points of Bob Sebra is that he's a tough competitor. And if you notice, he's only given up 1 run in the times that he got in trouble, 1 run an inning. The test of a pitcher is how you get out of trouble. Some guys get in trouble and the floodgates open up. They give up 4 runs before the inning's over. Sebra is a guy that he may get the bases low to get a couple of guys on, but he fights his way out and comes up with, like, you know, only giving up 1 run in the inning instead of getting hurt badly.
Maddox pops it up, and it is going to be handled by the first baseman, Johnson. Let's check in now with Jimmy Cefalo, NBC Sports New York.
Jay and in Toronto, the Red Sox had men on first and third with 2 out of the 4th inning when Spike Owen doubled off the first base bag. That brought Don Baylor around. It's now 4-2 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 4th inning. Let's go back out to Wrigley Field and Jay Randolph.
Mr. Cephalo, one of NBC's top football analysts, doing a fine job on the baseball updates this afternoon. Chico Walker has walked twice. He has stolen 2 bases and scored in the first inning for Chicago. Fouled off to the left side, out of play.
When a guy takes walks or gets a lot of walks, he's also going to get a lot of good pitches to hit, because they've walked him twice now, and they come right back and give him 2 fastballs down the middle.
And the foul tip is held by Jeff Reed. Strikeout for Sebra. Well, time flies when you're having fun. It's hard to believe that this is going to be the 10th anniversary of the Liberty Mutual Legends of Golf, the tournament that really got the senior PGA Tour started. I'll look forward to being at Onion Creek in Austin next Saturday and Sunday, and of course hope you'll stay with us today as we have the Dodgers and the Padres coming up, or the White Sox battling the Tigers. You'll see one of those games following this action from Wrigley Field. With Joe Morgan, Jay Randolph, as we move to the 6th inning here, a 4-2 lead for Montreal, and Jeff Reed, who has walked and scored and grounded out, is at the plate. He takes outside. Reed had a personal high of 4 runs batted in Tuesday's game against the Cardinals down in St. Louis. 2 balls and no strikes to Jeff Reed. And he had a rip at that one and came up empty. He was traded to the Expos February 3rd as Jeff Reardon and Tom Nieto went to the Twins. Nieto, a former Cardinal. Sandberg throws out Reed. 1 gone here in the 6th. New York now leading Kansas City 4-2. They're in the 4th inning.
Jay, a lot of people don't know you don't just do the Legends of Golf. You are a legend on the links.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about that, but you know, I've been covering golf on television since 1963, and I've seen the game grow, and I've also seen our technical abilities grow tremendously from those days. And of course, the Legends is very special to me. So many of the gentlemen who play there have been friends of mine for a long, long time. And it's a happening there in Austin, Texas.
Well, also, you played on the tour for a short time.
A short time,
I know I'm ruining all your games around the country now. You can't go in and beat up on guys
I'm
anymore.
a good, solid traveling 8 now.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really am.
Okay, Jay.
That's low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
But like you said, you're a traveling 8.
That's right.
You're 2 back at your home club, but you're a traveling 8. Okay.
Oh, don't I wish. Swing and a miss. 2-2. I think about Sam Snead playing in the Legends. Of course, what a remarkable athlete. Here's a man who's won in 5 decades, you know, and I had the pleasure of playing a number of times with Sam back in the 50s and 60s. And it's always great to be with those fellows down there. Men like Gene Littler, who played the National Amateur with me in 1952 in Oklahoma City and beat Dale Morey in the finals. We better get back to baseball here. 3-2. And this one is going to be caught as Martinez covered some ground out there in center field. Law hit it hard, but Martinez ran it down. We'll pause briefly now for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. Jay Randolph and Joe Morgan with you here at Wrigley Field as Montreal leads it 4-2. The Expos got all their runs in the 2nd. Single runs for the Cubs in the 1st and 2nd. This is Alonzo Powell, who has grounded out and walked.
Yeah, you can see the catcher giving a signal. This should be another curveball, yes. And they've been feeding Alonso a lot of curveballs the last couple of days, and that's why Buck Rogers is a little worried. It's the toughest pitch to adjust to when you first come to the big leagues is the curveball.
That major league curveball has sent a lot of them back to the minors.
That's the reason a lot of guys don't make it to the major leagues. But truthfully, for a good hitter, the fastball, this pitch here is the toughest pitch to hit. There's a fastball on the outside corner.
Struck him out. Gets him 1, 2, 3. Back with more after this. Toronto leading Boston 3-2, I should say, in the 4th inning. Kansas City is now down 4-2 to the Yankees. They're in the 4th inning. Cincinnati 1-0 over Houston in the 3rd. That Eric Davis home run we told you about. And Philadelphia over Pittsburgh 1-0. They're in the 2nd inning. Milwaukee just getting underway up there as they held up as the big crowd at Milwaukee's County Stadium as they go for their 11th victory in a row this season. Ryne Sandberg has grounded out twice.
See, he hit 314, 300, and 284 the last 3 years. The 314 year in 1984, he was the most valuable player in the National League.
From Spokane, Washington, has won 4 consecutive Gold Gloves. Strike on the outside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike to Sandberg. There's Buck Rogers. Signed with the Expos after being a minor league manager of the year in Indianapolis in '84. Slapped into the hole in right. Leadoff single here in the 6th for Ryne Sandberg.
That's the beauty of a Ryne Sandberg as a hitter. He can pull a ball for a home run, and he can take a ball and drive it to right field as he does here. Look at that nice, compact, level swing, and he drives the ball to right field. He uses the whole field. That's what he does best from the 2nd place slot. When he was hitting 3rd, he tried to pull the ball too much last year.
Well, they're starting to stir in the Montreal bullpen. Dawson is struck out and grounded out. Change-up in there for a strike. Mike Schmidt walked on 4 pitches in his 2nd time at bat at Pittsburgh. That's Andy McGaffigan.
This is a key part of the ball game for Sebra because the hitters on the Chicago Cubs have seen him twice now.
Line drive and out at first. Double play.
And he did hit it hard, but that was the key because they've seen him twice now and they should know how to handle him. These are veteran hitters and they know how to adjust, and they do so, but unfortunately Andre Dawson's line drive here goes right to the 2nd baseman Vance Law, and Ryne Sandberg is double off first. Vance Law whips the ball to first base very quickly and just ahead of the sliding Ryne Sandberg.
That'll bring up Keith Moreland, who has lined out twice. Zebra's hit some situations where there have been hot shots off of him, but right at somebody.
Well, that's good pitching.
Yes, it is. I won't argue with that, huh?
He won't let them hit them where they're not.
Moreland still looking for his first home run of the season. 1 ball and 1 strike.
But the key is that it is good pitching because he's keeping the Chicago Cubs in the ballpark. You're keeping them hitting the ball low and on the ground, so he's staying out of trouble.
That's a little outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Sebra has just thrown his 87th pitch of the game. That's low for ball 3. The Cubs with 3 hits. Montreal with 6. Montreal got all their runs in the 2nd when they played at 4, and the Cubs with single runs in the 1st and 2nd. And here's a long one by Moreland. Way back. Candell at the track. So Moreland's bid comes up a little short. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
As we see, Keith Moreland almost hit a ball out of the ballpark. He has a very nice swing here. Look at that. Nice balance. And he drives the ball to center field. If he pulls that ball 5 more feet, the wind would have helped it and been able to drive it out of here. But he hit it straight away center field. Couldn't get it over the 400-foot sign.
Tom Foley 1 for 2 and a couple of runs batted in. At Cincinnati, Nolan Ryan struck out Terry Francona to end the Cincinnati third. It was Ryan's 4,300 career strikeout.
I'm in there a few times, Jay.
Yes, sir. A lot of people in there.
Everyone that's faced him probably more than one game is in there.
2 strikes the count to Foley. That's inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bob Sebra on deck. And down the line, foul.
I was kidding Foley before the ball game. I saw him take a swing like that in the batting cage, and I asked him, did he learn that from Pete Rose? How to spoil that pitch. Ball away from you, just foul it off and maybe get another pitch and get in a better location for you to drive the ball.
Just outside, it's 2-2. Mentioned that Foley's a .321 lifetime hitter against Chicago. He hit .364 against them last season. And that is just foul. Eric Gregg making the call. Gregg, the umpire down at third base. The umpires with their regular uniforms. Mr. Gregg chased Mr. Yeomans here yesterday, and apparently Mr. Yeomans made some comment about his build. Yeomans was ejected in the 4th inning.
And Yeomans was very upset. I saw him this morning in the hotel. He was still talking about Eric Gregg.
Here's the 2-2. Another foul out of play.
Probably the maddest I ever happened to get on a baseball field was over a call that Eric Gregg made with me. In fact, they use it on NBC,
ABC,
sometimes.
any station you like.
On NBC sometimes. In their highlight shows, where I was tagged out at home plate at Dodger Stadium, and Eric Gregg, at least he called me out. I was safe, and I was very upset.
You sure you were safe?
Yeah, I was sure I was safe.
Okay. Payoff pitch coming. Struck him out. Let's check in again with Jimmy Cefalo for this baseball update.
Jay, with no one out in the top of the 5th inning in Toronto, Boston's Don Baylor doubled the left field to score Bill Buckner from second. Boston scored 2 more in the inning, and now after 4.5, it's Boston leading Toronto 5-4. Let's go back to Jay Randolph in Chicago.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. 4-2 the score here. The Expos leading. Zebra takes inside for a ball. He has singled and struck out. At Pittsburgh, a home run by Lance Parrish, a 3-run homer. In the 3rd, we understand it scored Schmidt and Easler in front of him. And Philadelphia now leading Pittsburgh 5-0 in that one.
Maybe that'll get Lance Parrish started. He's been struggling a little bit since joining the Phillies.
As you mentioned, sometimes a fellow make a change, and it takes him really a while to settle in and get comfortable.
And especially when you change leagues. He came from the American League, where he was used to all the pitchers over there, and now he has to make adjustments because the pitching is different in the National League than the American League.
Well, he walks the pitcher. That's not a very good idea.
That's tough to do, except Zebra did get a base hit off of him the first time up.
It's the 3rd walk issued by Maddox. Nothing shaking in the bullpen for the moment for the Cubs. Casey Candell. There might be something going on down there as they're on the phones now.
Yes.
Candell has struck out, grounded out, got an RBI, and in the 4th he also grounded out as they get busy down there. That's Dickie Knowles again. Play over to first in time. Sebra goes on to second. 2 gone with a runner at second for Mitch Webster.
It hasn't been easy at first base for Durham today. He fell down on one play and he knocks this one down, but he does a good job of getting his body in front of the ball and keeping it from going through, although he does let the pitcher Bob Sebra move up to second base and into scoring position.
Webster is 0 for 3 on the day. Well, now Gene Michael comes out to talk with his hurler. Michael is from Ohio, from Kent, Ohio, and Buck Rogers was born in Delaware, Ohio. So we got 2 gentlemen from the Buckeye State managing these 2 clubs. Plate umpire Jerry Davis said, "Let's continue the play, gentlemen, if we can." Webster will stand in against Craig Maddox. Webster hit .339 on grass fields last year and only .262 on artificial surfaces.
What that says to me, Jay, is that he's not a ground ball hitter. It means he hits either line drive or pop, hits the ball in the air. AstroTurf will only help you if you hit a lot of ground balls or you get overspin on the ball.
Good stop by Jody Davis. Maddox, 6 2/3. You see, he struck out 5 and walked 3. Ball and 1 strike to Mitch Webster. That's high, 2 and 1. Fly ball into right. Andre Dawson puts the glasses down and makes the play. Well, again this season, we'll be taking a look at baseball's unusual personalities. There's Eric Gregg, and we'll also Harry Carey. Fill that fellow's shoes or the seat here in the broadcast booth. Have signs all over here, Joe. Hurry back, Harry. And Harry is slated to return to the booth on May 19th. We're happy to know he's doing well, and he's entertained a lot of people broadcasting baseball over the years. Jack Brickhouse, I see, sitting just over here. This booth is named for Jack Brickhouse, a Hall of Fame broadcaster. There's Mr. Brickhouse, and a fella next to him, Lou Boudreau, right there. Well, what a fine ball player he was. Here's some of the folks that have pinch hit here. Skip Carey, of course, a very wonderful moment. Skip, who does the Atlanta games, and I used to work with Skip and Harry in St. Louis. Our own Bob Costas, Mr. Musburger and Mr. Summerall, and a cast of thousands, you might say. Popped up. Wallace Johnson, first baseman, makes the play, or excuse me, popped up by Durham, and Wallace Johnson makes the play. A 1 out here in the 7th.
Andy McGaffigan's up again in the Montreal bullpen after the way the last 3 balls were hit in the last inning against Bob Sebra. They wanted to have someone ready in case he lost it all at once.
17 career home runs versus the Expos, the highest of any team. That's a little low.
Lee Smith's in the Cub bullpen.
Smith gets into this game today. I think it'll be his 400th career appearance. That's foul.
Which would put him only one behind Ferguson Jenkins, I guess, is the guy that's pitched the most for the Chicago Cubs, made the most appearances.
I know it's for sure that this will be his 400th appearance, and are you correct on the 401?
I'm sure that Ferguson Jenkins
I knew you were
401.
correct. Yes, I knew you were correct. 1 ball and 1 strike, 1 out. A 4-2 score on the board at Wrigley Field, favoring Montreal. Wallach with the long throw. And with 2 out, let's again check in New York with Jimmy Cefalo.
Jay in Pittsburgh, Lance Parrish, who had been struggling, drilled a 3-run homer to left in the bottom of the 3rd inning to give the Phillies a 5-0 lead over the Pirates. Thus far in the afternoon, Mike Schmidt 0 for 1 as he goes after number 500. We'll keep you updated. Now let's go back out to Chicago and Jay Randolph.
Thank you, Jimmy. 4-6-1 for Montreal, 2-3-1 for Chicago. Martinez has flied into short center and popped out. That's high for a ball from Bob Sebra. Sebra 0-1 coming into today's game.
He's pitched a very fine ball game. He gave up runs in the 1st and 2nd innings, and he shut the Cubs out since that time.
1 ball and 1 strike. To the bullpen. They have not announced the crowd here today, but I would think that we've got around 30,000 here, maybe.
Can't get a lot more in here. I always enjoyed playing here, Jay. It's just a great feeling, and people are close. There's Gene Michael, who spent most of his time in the American League.
Law making the play, throwing out Martinez, and Montreal still leads it 4-2. Big Lee Smith, the fine reliever of the Cubs, thought he was coming into the ball game. He walked all the way down almost to the mound and then was told going back out to the bullpen by Herb Starrett, the pitching coach, and we've still got Greg Maddux out there.
It tells you that he wants the ball. But it's kind of interesting in that he's still throwing hard down the Cub bullpen.
Coming up after this one, of course, many of you will see the Dodgers and the Padres. Others will see the White Sox and Detroit. And very quickly, Johnson grounds out 4-3. That's the way we start the 8th inning in a 4-2 game with Montreal leading it. And Johnson on the day is 0 for 4. Tim Wallach 2 for 3. He scored in the 2nd inning.
I would have to think if Greg Maddux gets anyone on base this inning, we will see Lee Smith in a double switch situation.
Maddux first pitch is inside. Well, these Expos will be happy to get home. They've been out on the road since they came out of camp. Record of 2-6. Those 2 victories coming in St. Louis. Trying to get their 3rd victory of the year here in Chicago this afternoon. And they'll get a new feel, I would imagine, Joe. Olympic Stadium, they tell me, with the roof finally on it, is a more intimate ballpark.
I always look forward to seeing it when they finally finish that roof. I guess they've been working on it since the Olympics, since before the Olympics.
Since 1976. I guess, yeah, they were trying to get it ready before that.
The Olympics and couldn't make it.
Yeah, full count. Now Lee Smith sitting back down. after throwing some more down in the pen there. Here's the payoff pitch, and it's foul outside of third. Check some other scores for you on this Saturday afternoon. Boston has come back to take the lead over Toronto 5-4. They're in the 6th inning. Yankees lead Kansas City 4-2 in the 6th. Cincinnati on the Davis home run over Houston 1-0, and Philadelphia now 5-0 over Pittsburgh in the 4th. Here it's 4-2 Montreal. Out into right center, and finally it is Dawson who says I'll handle it, and he does. 2 gone for Jeff Reed.
Greg Maddux has struggled, but truthfully he only had 1 bad inning himself.
The second
inning, he gave
4
up
runs
4
on 4 hits. He walked a man in that inning,
and he shut Montreal down since that time.
This is foul into the seats down the left side for Jeff Reed. Reed walked in that 2nd inning and scored. Since then he's grounded out twice.
In the case of Greg Maddux, that's what you call pitching just good enough to lose.
Dunston charges and throws out Jeff Reed. They're down 1-2-3. Montreal still leads 4-2. Jackie Robinson, of course, played with the Montreal Royals in the minor leagues 1946, and he was much respected in the great city of Montreal. And of course from there it was on to the majors. Those words, of course, from Roy Campanella a moment ago. I was privileged to be in Cooperstown the day Campy was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I cried like a baby. I'll never forget it, and I didn't mind crying at all. It was a touching moment. Here's Randy St. Clair, who is into the game now. St. Clair from Glens Falls, New York, 26 years old. And St. Clair is appearing in his 5th game. He's pitched 5 innings, given up 8 hits and 4 runs.
When you were talking about Jackie Robinson, of course, that's a subject very close to my heart. And April 4th, I had a roast involving Reggie Jackson and Willie McCovey in the honor the memory of Jackie Robinson. And the greatest tribute we got was from Pee Wee Reese and Happy Chandler. They sent telegrams and a tape, and both of those guys said so many great things about Jackie Robinson. It was unbelievable.
It was wonderful to see that remarkable footage and that tribute Marv Albert, NBC, put together today on our pregame show, and I was privileged to see Robinson play a number of games. He was a very special man for a very special time. Tried to bunt. It's a strike. 2 strikes the count. Sean Dunston hit into a double play, and in the 5th he flied to center. Manny Trio is out on deck. There's the veteran. Standing down there as Dunston has a 2-strike count, and this is way wide as he wasted 1 ball and 2 strikes. Talking about wasting them. These days they waste them to the outside. 10 years ago they used to waste them to the inside, but you don't see that much anymore. The umpires don't want them throwing in there.
And I truthfully think it takes something away from the game.
That's low and outside, 2-2. You see more players get hit today, and I think one of the reasons is that pitchers don't throw inside very often, and also the fellows are wearing the helmet now, and they don't really they don't realize what's going on. The shortstop Foley in time. Look at Sebra's pitching line. He had a very good day. He gave up only 3 hits in the 2 early runs. Struck out 2 and walked 3. And he's got an opportunity to get his first victory. Manny Trio is introduced. Trio 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter this year. Mike Schmidt has flied out to left field in the 5th inning in his 3rd plate appearance today at Pittsburgh.
Interesting, the guy that Trio's hitting for, Greg Maddux, as we mentioned, had the 1 rough inning, but he's retired. He retired the last 10 Montreal Expos in a row. so maybe he was getting stronger as the ball game went along.
That's low to Trio. Trio from Venezuela. 36 years old. And he batted .298 in 81 games in his second shift with the Cubs last year.
In the person of Sandberg and Trio, the Cubs have had some very fine second basemen here over the last few years, and guys that could really turn the double play.
Manny was originally signed as a free agent for the Phillies back in '68. Low for ball 3. Lee Smith, we can expect, will be into the ball game. Inside, and the walk to Trio. Well, that will bring the tying run to the plate. Chico Walker. We're in the 8th inning. Montreal leading at 4-2. Walker has walked twice and struck out in the first. He stole a base, later scored. He also stole a base in the third. Gene Michael looking on. Michael, who had time with the Yankees, of course, also with the Pirates and the Dodgers and Detroit. Strike on the inside corner. McClure in the Montreal bullpen getting set to loosen up. This is into center field. It falls in front of Candell, and they're 2 on and 1 out. Walker stings it into center.
The Cubs have a rally going here. He gets a fastball in the middle of the plate, and it's lined in the center field by Chico Walker. Candell comes on, but he can't get there in time. And the Cubs are in business. Runners at first and second, 1 out. And Ryan Sandberg will be the hitter.
And the folks here at Wrigley Field come alive. Sandberg grounded out, got an RBI in the first, grounded out in the third, singled in the sixth. 2 on and 1 out in a 4-2 game. Montreal leading 8th inning. 1 out, excuse me. Ball 1 to Sandberg. And it's tough to pitch from behind, as you mentioned earlier, to this fella.
And this is tough right now to get behind, because the Cubs, the next 3 hitters, will be looking for their pitch to try to drive it and tie this ball game up. And if you get behind, it gives them 1 more pitch to sit on. They can wait just that much longer to get the pitch they want.
Inside. Sandberg leads the club in doubles with 4. 1 for 3 this afternoon. There's the line score. The Cubs now with 4 hits. Trio at second, Walker at first. Sandberg steps out. On the inside corner. Good pitch that time from Randy St. Clair, who is in relief of Bob Sebra.
He does have a very good fastball, and that was a good fastball on the inside part of the plate. Gene Michael trying to root the Cubs on through.
Popped up. Mitch Webster in right field makes the play. There are 2 gone. Let's check in with Jimmy Cefalo in New York.
Jay, in Toronto, Mike Sharperson went the opposite way. He doubles into the corner. Dwight Evans gets the ball, makes a strong throw. The relay gets Ernie Wood at the plate, and it's still 5-4 Boston, top of the 7th inning. Now back to Jay Randolph in Chicago.
And we look at Buck Rogers, his Expos leading at 4-2, bottom of the 8th inning. And his former player, Andre Dawson, steps to the plate. Dawson is struck out, grounded out, lined into a double play. And he could put Chicago on top with one swing.
This is why they want him. This is what Dallas Green expected from him, to be in clutch situations and to come through for the Cubs.
That's high, ball one. The runners, Trio at second, Walker over at first. 2 out for Dawson in the 8th inning. Inside and low, ball 2.
St. Clair is a little bit upset with Jerry Davis behind the plate because he thought both of the first 2 pitches he's thrown Andre Dawson were strikes. Instead of having him 0-2, now he's behind 2-0 and has to come in with a pitch.
Foul back. And Dawson was trying to deposit that one out on Waveland Avenue.
And actually went out of the strike zone. That was a high fastball, and the ball is out of the strike zone. You'll see it's too high as he tries to get up to it. And St. Clair is throwing hard, and the toughest pitch to hit off a good live fastball is the fastball up and out of the strike zone. It's tough to catch up with it.
2-1 to Dawson. Fair ball, long throw across the diamond in time. Good play by Wallach, and the rally comes to an end.
Wasn't that? The only reason the Montreal Expos still lead is this great play to end the 8th inning off the bat of Andre Dawson. Great play by Tim Wallach because the ball bounced up. If it would have stayed down, it would have been an easier play, but it was a great play, and he had to get to Speedy Dawson at first. Montreal still leads 4-2 because of that play, as you see Tim Wallach in the dugout.
And you see Lee Smith, his appearance Monday was the 399th of his Cub career, leaving him shy of Fergie Jenkins, who ranks 4th on the Cubs all-time list for pitchers. He picked up his 145th career save on Monday, tying him with Dave Justy for 17th place on the all-time save list. And he throws to Law. First pitch is a strike. Law today has singled and scored, got an infield single in the 4th, and flied out in the 6th. Inside, Smith versus Montreal in '86 was 3-2 with a save. This is a very talented man out of the pen for Chicago. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And as you saw the graphic, he's the only guy to ever save over 30 games 3 years in a row. And it was probably a lot tougher for him last year. They only won 70 ball games.
There's a strike, 2-2. Smith also has defeated every opposing National League club except the Reds.
He's got that easy motion, and then he pops the fastball on you, and he is a fastball pitcher.
Ready now with the 2-2. Got him. Strikeout. You know what's amazing, Joe, as we look at Smith here? The opponent's batting average in the National League with 2 outs and runners in scoring position over 7 years for this man, just 185 has been their average.
That's why he's won. That's why he saved those 30 ball games each of the last 3 years. And that fastball to Vance Law was right on the knees.
Alonzo Powell 0 for 2 on the day. Takes low. Looking ahead to the Cub 9th, Moreland, Durham, and Davis, the heart of the order. That's low, ball 2.
That's what Gene Michael is looking at. Davis.
Yep.
I think we'll get a chance here to see Alonzo Powell, because he will be challenged by Lee Smith with the fastball right there.
2-2.
But not only did he challenge him with it, he hit the outside corner with it. That makes it a little tougher to hit. Yeah.
That fastball is a moving fastball. This fella really can come home with it. He hummed that one in there, and it's fouled away as Powell got a piece of it. All of the scoring early. Cubs broke on top 1-0. Montreal got 4 in the second. Cubs got 1 in the second. Strikeout number 2 for Lee Smith. This looks familiar, Joe.
Yes, it does. He gets you looking for that 90-something mile-an-hour fastball, and then he throws you a breaking ball, all-speed breaking ball, and you want to chase it. A lot of times you chase it because you think it's easier to hit than that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, but inside of the strike zone, you have no chance.
Foley 1 for 3 on the afternoon, 2 RBIs. Fly ball into center field. And Smith gets them 1, 2, 3. Coming up, bottom of the 9th inning for the Cubs. Reminder to stay with us. Many of you will see the Dodgers and the Padres, or the White Sox go against the Tigers, coming up here on a doubleheader day on NBC Sports. St. Clair is on the mound for that man, Buck Rogers. He's going after his second save. Gene Michael looking on as Moreland leads off the 9th. Strike on the inside corner. Nolan Ryan has left the game at Cincinnati in the bottom of the 5th inning with a possible strained left hamstring. It's 4-2 Montreal. Moreland's hit the ball hard 3 times this afternoon. Hasn't got anything to show for it. And strike 2 to him.
Actually, St. Clair has shown that he can make some good pitches when he needs to. He got behind Sandberg in the last inning 2-0 with the runners in scoring position and made 2 excellent pitches. He got Dawson on an excellent pitch. Now he's made 2 real good pitches on Keith Moreland here. But as I mentioned, Moreland's more dangerous with 2 strikes than he is with none.
And a little shot out into right. Coming on to make the play, though, is Webster. Leon Durham has a home run in this game. It came in the 2nd inning, and here it is, Joe.
It was a good pitch, actually, down and away, as you see, and he drives it out in the left center field, and he got a little help from the wind, but the ball almost goes out of the stadium. That's the power of a Leon Durham the other way.
Inside from St. Clair. The Bull, they call him. Durham from Cincinnati, Ohio. Just low. Ball 2.
It's the first off-speed pitch we've seen from St. Clair.
Well, St. Clair is aware that he doesn't want to put Durham on and bring Davis to the plate with a man on. Caught the outside corner with that one, 2-1.
He's making quality pitches on the outside corners, on the edges, as we see Jody Davis on deck. He could tie the ball game up if Leon Durham could get on base for him.
Got under it down the left side. Let's see if anybody can get there. No, it hits down in the bullpen area of the Cubs. 3 of them going for it, Wallach, Foley, and Powell, and nobody could get to it.
Durham gets a fastball in the middle of the plate, but he's late on it. And you can see he's upset. And he's hoping the ball will go foul. Now he sees that it may not. The key is always run, then you don't have to worry about it, right, Jay?
Yeah, I think he'd like to have that pitch one more time. That looked like something he would like to take another try at.
Right.
2-2, 1 out. Ninth inning, Montreal leading 4-2. This big crowd of more than 32,000 sitting in here hoping for a comeback by the Cubs. Foul backing out of play.
That's the identical pitch he hit for the home run in the first inning, except St. Clair probably has about 7 or 8 more miles per hour on his fastball than did Bob Sebra.
Durham homered in the second.
We see an off-speed pitch here. As you see the catcher wiggle his change-up, full foul.
Fouled way upstairs down the right side. Durham and St. Clair battling here in the ninth. Both clubs committing an error. St. Clair rubbing up a new baseball. We just did get a piece of that right off the nub of the bat. Counts
Another
2-2.
changeup. This is another off-speed pitch, changeup. You can see him grip it and see his fingers fly off, meaning he gripped it in his palm instead of in his fingers. And that's how most people throw their changeups nowadays.
St. Clair getting ready to come home. Law throws out Durham, and they're 2 gone. Jody Davis will bat with the bases empty. He's walked, doubled, and grounded out. Remember, coming up, we've got the Dodgers and the Padres, or the White Sox and the Detroit Tigers. Doubleheader baseball action for you this afternoon. Now, Jeff Reed wants to talk things over with his hurler, Randy St. Clair. And we take a moment here to run through some other scores. Boston has the lead over Toronto, 5-4 in the 6th inning. New York leading Kansas City 4-2 there in the 6th inning. Cincinnati 4-0 over Houston in the 4th. Philadelphia 5-1 over Pittsburgh, that game in the 6th inning. We have no score yet from up in Milwaukee. And this one's going to get down, and the Cubs still have a life. We're going to get a pinch hitter, Jerry Mumphrey, with Davis at first and 2 out. Mumphrey, another former St. Louis Cardinal. Jody Davis didn't get a lot of that one, but it fell in out there. Jeff Perrette was the pitcher you saw warming up down there. Mumphrey has 3 runs batted in as a pinch hitter and is 2 for 3. And he has a home run as a pinch hitter. That's all this season.
Well, Mumphrey is one of the better pinch hitters, you know, in baseball, because first of all, he's a switch hitter, so he can hit from either side. But he does have some pop from the left-hand side.
Fouls that one back. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And the other good thing is he is a good fastball hitter. And that seems to be Randy St. Clair's best pitch, as he challenged him with it right there.
Gene Michaels Cubs down 2. 9th inning, 1 on and 2 out. Buck Rogers hoping his club is about to get their 3rd victory of the young season. Here's a long one by Mumphrey, but Candell says, "I've got it, look out." And it was Howell, I believe, who came up with it in front of the
No, Candell made the catch.
Candell did get the catch. It was Powell coming over and trying to take that away, and that could have been very dangerous.
Well, when the ball goes out there like that and you see the two outfielders running in toward each other, the thing that scares you the most is if they run into each other and it drops. I think that's the key as we watch Buck Rogers.
Watch the reaction.
This is his reaction. He's afraid that they're going to run into each other. And he says, all right.
That could have been disastrous if they had collided out there. The Expos win it 4-2. We'll be back right after this. The Major League Baseball Game of the Week has been brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filter draft beer. It's as real as it gets. By Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil. By Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of a full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi. And by Fram, Bendix, and Autolite. Quality products from Allied Automotive.
And the Miller MVP game player of the game is Bob Sebra. Miller Lite is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Bob Sebra to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. And we'll be right back after these commercials.
Final score 4-2. Sinclair gets his second save of the year. Our thanks to our producer David Neal, our director John Gonzalez, and their crew for the sights and sounds of Major League Baseball today. Jay Randolph along with Joe Morgan saying so long from Wrigley Field in Chicago. And now stay tuned for the second half of our baseball doubleheader coming up next on NBC Sports.